The council station floated above a blue star, its silver rings shining like a crown in the endless sky. This station was the heart of the Union, a place where hundreds of species gathered to decide the future of the galaxy. On this day, the Great Hall was full. Leaders, soldiers, and traders filled the balconies, waiting to see the arrival of a new race. The humans of Earth had been invited for the first time, and whispers moved through the crowd like restless wind. Many expected nothing impressive. Some aliens had already judged humans before even meeting them. They said humans were too young, too small, and too fragile to matter in the great scale of stars. In one corner, a group of tall-scaled warriors laughed at the thought of human ships. To them, Earth was a world still crawling from the mud of its own history. A soft-skinned race that had only just learned to cross the dark was no threat to anyone. The laughter spread, and soon other voices joined in, mocking the idea that humans might stand equal in such a hall. At the far end of the chamber, the Speaker of the Union raised a long arm to call for silence. His voice carried across the walls. Today, the people of Earth come to meet the Union. Let them arrive in peace. The vast doors of the chamber opened. The humans stepped forward. At their front walked Myra, chosen to speak for Earth. She wore no crown, no armor, only a plain suit with the crest of her world. Beside her walked Commander Tomash, broad-shouldered and silent, his eyes sharp as he studied the chamber. Behind them came aides and crew, each carrying themselves with steady steps. They were not overwhelmed by the vastness of the hall, though many eyes watched them with doubt. Above the station, the human ship Aurora moved into orbit. Compared to the massive vessels of the Union, it looked small and simple. Its smooth white hull had no spikes, no heavy cannons displayed, only quiet engines and a steady light across its frame. Alien officers watching through the windows sneered at the design. "That is their pride," one asked. "That little thing? It looks like a child's craft." Their laughter rolled across the observation decks. In the chamber, Myra stopped at the center circle. She raised her head and met the eyes of the alien leaders. Their gaze was heavy, filled with pride and superiority. She could hear the quiet chuckles, the whispers about weakness, the doubts spoken so freely. But she did not lower her voice or her spirit. "We stand before you as people of Earth," she said. Her words were calm, carried by translators into every tongue. "We come with respect. We come with hope. We come to listen, and we come to speak." Her voice was strong, yet the chamber shook with more laughter. The scaled warriors bared their teeth in mocking grins. The tall insectoid diplomats clicked their mandibles in amusement. A feathered elder leaned to his companions and whispered, "This is not a people of strength. This is a people of words only." Commander Tomash stood behind Myra, saying nothing, but his hands were folded behind his back with perfect stillness. His eyes moved across the chamber, marking every mocking smile, every arrogant glance. He had been told before this meeting that many would see humans as weak, and he was ready for it. Weakness in appearance was nothing new for his people. Humanity had faced larger beasts on its own world, had stood against storms, hunger, and war. Being underestimated was almost a tradition. Above them, on the observation deck, the alien fleets watched the Aurora's still frame in orbit. More voices mocked it, saying it was a transport ship, a carrier for goods, not a warship worthy of a council world. None noticed the faint signals moving from the Aurora into deep space, silent waves that touched systems far beyond. The speaker called the hall to order again, raising his long arms. "Let the humans be welcome to the council. Let talks begin. Today, we will see if they bring value or only words." Myra nodded and stepped forward, ready to speak again. Tomash remained quiet, but a thought lingered in his mind as he looked at the alien leaders. They laughed now, as he expected. But laughter never lasted long when it was pointed at humans. There was always a turning point. Always a moment when the mockers learned what humanity carried within. The chamber lights glowed bright above, shining across the banners of 100 worlds. Myra stood in the center of them, her voice steady, her form unshaken. The aliens thought they saw weakness, but they did not yet understand. Humanity had not come to beg, nor to kneel. Humanity had come to show what endurance, patience, and hidden strength truly looked like. And though the laughter echoed across the hall, Tomasz felt no sting. He only waited. Because he knew something the others did not. Somewhere out there, beyond their sight, the sound that would silence this chamber was already waiting. For now, the aliens mocked the little ship called Aurora. But soon they would learn. The great hall of the council was vast, built from white stone and glowing crystal, wide enough to hold thousands of beings from every corner of the galaxy. The ceiling arched high like the sky of a world, and banners of each race swayed in artificial air. At the center of this hall stood Myra, human representative, her calm eyes fixed on the circle of alien leaders. Behind her stood Commander Tomasz, still as a statue, his hands folded behind his back. All around, voices rose in waves. The arrival of the humans had stirred both curiosity and scorn. Some leaders studied them in silence, but many others laughed openly. Their words were not whispered but shouted across the chamber, so all could hear. "The humans are small," said a scaled warlord with sharp ridges on his brow. "They live on one planet and think themselves ready for the stars." His voice thundered and brought more laughter. "They are soft," hissed an insectoid diplomat, his mandibles clattering. "Their skin tears easily. Their bones break quickly. They are not warriors. They are prey. They come with nothing," added a feathered elder, his long wings spreading wide. "Their ship is plain, their weapons hidden, their voices trembling. They seek only protection. They will kneel like many before them." The words rolled across the chamber, and the laughter grew. The council guards did not stop it, for mocking newcomers was tradition among certain races. To them, this was part of the test. If humans could not stand against ridicule, how could they face greater dangers? Myra did not lower her gaze. She kept her shoulders steady and her voice calm. She had known this would come. She had been warned before leaving Earth that most of the council would expect weakness. That did not matter. She would not meet insult with anger. She would meet it with patience. "We are not here to kneel," Myra said, her voice carrying through the translators. "We are not here to beg. We are here to learn, to share, and to take our place among equals." Her words only brought more laughter. The scaled warlord slapped the arm of his chair. "Equals? You, a child of the stars? You stand before giants and dare call yourself equal? Do you not fear the strength that surrounds you?" Commander Tomasz finally spoke, his voice low but clear. "We do not fear strength. We have lived with it all our lives." His words were few, but they carried a weight that made some pause. Myra glanced at him briefly, then back at the council. Another alien, tall and armored, leaned forward. "If you do not fear strength, then show us what you bring. Your ship looks like a toy. Your people look fragile. What can you give that we do not already own?" Myra lifted her chin. "We give what we always give. Our will. Our endurance. Our hands to build, our minds to create, and our promise to stand beside those who value peace." Her answer was met again with laughter. Yet not all laughed. A few younger delegates, less hardened by arrogance, watched the humans more closely. They saw something in Myra's steady tone, something in Tomasz's unshaken posture, that did not match weakness. The Speaker of the Union, seated at the highest place, raised one long arm. "The humans speak with hope. The council will decide in time what place they may hold." But before silence returned, the scaled warlord rose from his chair. His shadow stretched long across the chamber floor. His voice thundered louder than before. Hope is not enough. I say the humans must prove their worth or leave the station. If they cannot show strength, they must offer their worlds in exchange for protection. Let Earth belong to the Union as tribute. The words struck the hall like a storm. Some cheered, others hissed in agreement. The warlord had spoken boldly, and the laughter turned to hungry interest. Myra did not flinch. She looked up at him and spoke clearly. Earth will never bow. We do not offer our home as tribute. We do not belong to another. We stand as free people. For the first time, the warlord narrowed his eyes. He had expected fear, perhaps even surrender. Instead, he saw steady defiance. His lips curled into a cold grin. Strong words for a weak race. It was then that Tomasz leaned forward, his voice cutting across the noise. Do you hear that? The hall went silent. His question was strange, simple, and without context. Alien leaders shifted in their seats, confused. Some looked toward the windows. Others listened carefully, though no sound reached their ears. What do you speak of, human? The warlord demanded. Tomasz said nothing more. His words hung in the air like a shadow. Myra folded her hands calmly and added, humans do not walk into halls unprepared. You laugh now. You mock us. But listen carefully. Every time our people were underestimated, we endured. And when the time came, we answered. The silence of the chamber grew heavier. For the first time since their arrival, the laughter faded. Unease rippled through the rows of leaders. They had expected fear, but instead they found a mystery. Myra stepped back, allowing the pause to linger. Tomasz stood tall behind her, his eyes steady as stone. The council did not yet know what the humans meant, but a seed of doubt had been planted. And doubt was stronger than any insult. Above the station, the Aurora drifted quietly in orbit. Its plain hull gave no hint of what waited beyond. But the humans knew, and soon, so would everyone else. The silence in the great chamber was strange. A moment before, the council had been filled with laughter, mocking words, and bold threats. Now every voice was quiet. Commander Tomasz's words still floated in the air like a quiet warning. Do you hear that? He had said. It was such a simple question, yet it unsettled the proud leaders of the council. The scaled warlord shifted uneasily, his claws tapping the arm of his chair. He looked toward the tall windows of the chamber, as if expecting to see something outside. Other leaders leaned forward, curious. They heard no sound at all, only the steady hum of the station's energy core. What game do you play, human? The warlord growled. We hear nothing. Tomasz did not answer. His eyes remained calm, fixed on the warlord with the same steady look he had given since entering the hall. Myra took a step forward, her voice firm but calm. You do not hear it because you do not know what to listen for, she said. But soon you will understand. Humanity does not raise its voice to show strength. Humanity does not decorate its ships with spikes to frighten enemies. Our power is not in how loud we sound. It is in how we endure, how we build, and how we prepare for the moment when words fail. Her words carried across the chamber, translated into 100 tongues. Some leaders frowned, still dismissing her as a speaker of riddles. Yet others, especially the younger delegates, felt a weight in her voice. The feathered elder rose, his wings spreading slightly. You speak in circles, he said. The council deals with action, not riddles. If you have strength, show it. If you do not, then accept your place as those who beg for protection. Myra looked at him without blinking. We do not beg. We never have. When storms rose on our world, we endured. When beasts larger than us hunted us, we endured. When our own kind turned against us in fire and war, we endured. Every time we were told to kneel, we stood taller. That is what you do not understand. The elder tilted his head, but he did not laugh. Something in her tone silenced the amusement in his throat. The insectoid diplomat clicked his mandibles in frustration. Pretty words. Yet they are still only words. Your ship above us is no more than a shell. It carries no threat. It inspires no fear. Why should we care for your endurance? At this, Tomasz finally spoke again. His voice was calm, but every syllable felt heavy. Because we have never survived by fear. We survive by certainty. You see only the aurora, and you laugh at it? You think it is all we have. But what you see is not what we rely on. The warlord narrowed his eyes. And what lies behind it? He asked. Tomasz gave no answer. Instead, he glanced toward Myra. She nodded and faced the chamber once more. We came here with respect, she said. But respect is not given in return. We are mocked and told we are weak. That is fine. Laugh if you wish. But listen as well. Humans do not walk into halls unprepared. We do not place our lives in the hands of others without reason. While you sit in pride, thinking us fragile, remember this. The moment you believe we are harmless is the moment you make your first mistake. Her words carried a cold edge, not of anger but of truth. The hall was still. Delegates who had been laughing before now exchanged uneasy glances. Some even looked to their guards, as though expecting danger to appear. The Speaker of the Union leaned forward from his high seat. His many eyes blinked slowly as he studied Myra and Tomasz. Your words are heavy, he said at last. But the council does not move on words alone. If you claim more than you show, then soon you must prove it. Myra bowed her head slightly in acknowledgement. We will prove it when the time comes. Until then, remember that silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence is the sound of something greater approaching. The chamber remained uneasy. The warlord sat back, his grin forced but uncertain now. The insectoid diplomat shifted in his seat. The feathered elder folded his wings slowly. No one laughed this time. Above them, unseen by most, the aurora released a quiet signal, a low pulse too faint for alien sensors to recognize. It was not a weapon, not yet, but a message. Somewhere beyond the edge of sight, something stirred in answer. Tomasz's eyes flickered briefly, as though he knew the response had been received. He kept his expression still, giving nothing away. The council began to murmur again, but the sound was different now. Not mocking, not laughing, but uncertain. Doubt had entered the hearts of the proud. They no longer saw only a small fragile people. They saw shadows behind them, a possibility they had not expected. Myra folded her hands in front of her and waited as the speaker called for the next round of discussion. The humans had not yet shown their hand, but they had placed the first stone on the board. The laughter had faded, and in its place grew curiosity and unease. Commander Tomasz remained silent, his mind steady. He knew the time would come soon. For now, the hint was enough. And though the council still thought themselves in control, the balance of the chamber had already shifted. Far above the council station, stars stretched in endless silence. The human ship Aurora drifted in orbit, its smooth hull reflecting the light of the nearby star. To most alien eyes, it was nothing special, a plain vessel smaller than the warships of the council races. Its engines glowed with steady light, its surface free from the spikes and banners that others displayed. Yet inside its calm frame, hidden systems were alive and waiting. When Commander Tomasz sent the pulse from his wrist console, the Aurora responded. A quiet frequency left its core, moving through the void faster than light, silent and invisible to almost every sensor in the chamber below. Most of the council ships did not even notice. To them, the Aurora remained what it appeared to be, an unimpressive craft with little power. But those who listened closely began to feel something. A soft vibration touched the walls of the great chamber. It was faint, more like a breath than a sound, but it unsettled the leaders. Some shifted in their seats, glancing at one another. The scaled warlord raised his head, his ridged brow furrowing. "What is this trick?" he demanded. "What sound crawls through this hall?" No one answered. The Speaker of the Union turned his many eyes to Myra. "Explain this. What have your people done?" Myra stood calmly in the center circle. "You asked for proof," she said. "Proof does not always come with noise or with fire. Sometimes proof comes with presence. What you feel is not a threat. It is a reminder that we are not what you think." The insectoid diplomat hissed in anger. "We see only one ship, small and weak. Do you claim this signal is proof of power?" Commander Tomash stepped forward slightly. His voice was low and steady. "The Aurora is not alone." The words struck harder than any weapon. A sudden murmur filled the chamber as delegates leaned toward their aides, whispering questions. Not alone. What did that mean? Some sent urgent orders to their ships outside, demanding scans of the system. Their sensors reached outward, searching for hidden fleets, for ambushes waiting beyond the station's orbit. Yet their screens showed nothing. Then, through the vast windows, a shadow appeared. It moved slowly at first, drifting out from behind the glare of the star. At first it seemed like nothing more than an outline, a faint distortion in the light. Then it took shape, a dark silhouette sliding through space. Gasps filled the chamber as the figure grew clearer. The Sentinel had arrived. Its hull was black, darker than the void around it, shaped with sharp edges that seemed to swallow starlight. It moved with a silence that unsettled every watcher. No bright lights decorated its surface. No banners of pride hung from its flanks. Yet its presence was heavier than entire fleets. The scaled warlord rose to his feet, his laughter gone. "What is that?" he demanded. Myra lifted her gaze toward the window. Her voice was calm but carried weight. "That is the Sentinel. It is not built for beauty. It is not built for show. It is built for survival." The chamber erupted with voices. Some shouted warnings, others cried out for guards. Fleet commanders rushed to alert their ships. Shields were raised, weapons powered, defensive lines formed around the station. Fear spread through the crowd like fire through dry grass. The Speaker of the Union raised his long arms, calling for silence, but the panic did not stop at once. It took several long moments before order returned. His many eyes locked on Myra. "You dare bring such a vessel here, human? You dare threaten this council?" Myra shook her head. "We do not threaten. The Sentinel does not fire unless it must. But it is here so you understand that humanity does not stand helpless. We came to show respect, but respect must go both ways." The insectoid diplomat clicked his mandibles nervously. "No ship moves without sound. No hull swallows sensors. How did you build this thing?" Tomash answered, his words short and firm. "By surviving. By enduring. Every storm that tried to break us made us stronger. Every enemy that tried to crush us taught us to rise again. This ship is not a weapon of pride. It is a shield of warning." Through the windows, the Sentinel drew closer, its shadow falling over the station. Its black surface reflected no light, only the faint glow of the star around its edges. Alien commanders reported their sensors failing, unable to read its energy, unable to measure its weapons. Their ships felt blind in its presence. The scaled warlord growled, gripping the edge of his seat. He had laughed at humans hours before, but now his voice carried none of that arrogance. "Why bring this here? If you seek war, you will have it." Myra turned her gaze on him, her eyes calm, her voice even. "We do not seek war. We never have. But when we are told to kneel, we rise. When we are told to give up our home, we build walls higher than any storm. You mocked us because of what you saw. Now you see something more." The chamber was silent again. Not the silence of mockery this time, but of fear, of uncertainty, of respect slowly forming in the minds of those who had doubted. Above them, the sentinel drifted, dark and still, like a shadow that had always been there, waiting to be noticed. The chamber was heavy with silence. The alien leaders, who had laughed at humans only hours before, now stared through the great windows in disbelief. The sentinel hung in orbit, black and massive against the backdrop of stars. Its presence alone made the council uneasy. Ships that had once seemed invincible now appeared fragile, their sensors overwhelmed by the unknown. The scaled warlord, usually loud and arrogant, leaned forward, his claws gripping the edge of his chair. "Explain this," he demanded. "How can such a small people command such a vessel? Are you not afraid of our fleets?" Myra's voice was calm as she answered. "We are not afraid because fear is not our guide. We build to endure, to protect, and to survive. This vessel is called the Sentinel. It carries nothing to show, yet it carries everything we need to defend ourselves. It is a warning, not a weapon of conquest." The insectoid diplomat clicked his mandibles, frustration evident in every movement. "A warning," he hissed. "You threaten our fleets by showing only a shadow? Do you think this will scare the council?" Myra shook her head. "You are wrong. You do not see a shadow. You see what you do not understand. Every mechanism, every system on the Sentinel was built to endure attacks far stronger than you can imagine. Every crew member aboard has been trained to act with precision, courage, and clarity. The ship is not here to destroy unless necessary, but if challenged, it will endure and protect. That is power." The chamber fell quieter as her words settled. Delegates who had once mocked humans now exchanged uneasy glances. They realized that what they had considered a weak race was not only clever but fully prepared. The Speaker of the Union, his many eyes wide, raised one arm slowly. "Your people have made a statement," he said. "But can you demonstrate this strength without resorting to violence?" Myra nodded. "Yes," she replied. "It is not our way to attack without reason. But we can show what the Sentinel can do without firing a single shot." At her command, Tamash activated the ship's display system. Through the windows, a holographic projection unfolded above the council chamber. It began simply, showing the Sentinel approaching fleets far larger than itself. Energy fields surrounded the vessel, invisible yet protective. Shields glowed briefly, demonstrating the capacity to absorb powerful attacks without damage. Then the simulation shifted. The Sentinel moved among enemy ships, not with explosions, but with precise maneuvers that neutralized weapon systems, blocked advances, and dismantled formations efficiently. The largest vessels of alien fleets were rendered useless by a craft much smaller in size. Every movement was silent, controlled, and perfect. The demonstration ended with the Sentinel holding fleets at bay without firing a single weapon. Gasps filled the chamber. The scaled warlord's claws dug into his chair. The insectoid diplomat's mandibles trembled. The feathered elder folded his wings tightly, his expression unreadable but tense. Even the speaker blinked, taken aback by the precision and clarity of the display. Myra stepped forward again. "We do not start wars. We do not attack without reason. But if threatened, humanity does not surrender. We respond with precision, endurance, and courage. This is the meaning of power we bring. The Sentinel is proof that we survive when others may doubt us. It is proof that when humans are challenged, we endure and protect all we value." A young delegate from a smaller race whispered to a companion. "I do not think they lie. Their presence, their preparation, it is beyond anything we have known." The chamber was no longer filled with laughter or mockery. The air felt heavier, the sense of arrogance replaced by caution. Leaders who had believed humans weak now faced the truth. These were a people underestimated at their own peril. The scaled warlord finally spoke, his voice quieter than before. "I mocked you. I believed your people weak. I see now that was a mistake. But tell me, human, what is your goal? Why show this power without attacking? Myra met his gaze without fear. Our goal is peace. We came to join the council not as beggars, not as slaves, but as equals. We do not threaten, but we cannot be threatened. The sentinel is not a weapon to conquer. It is a lesson in understanding that underestimation is dangerous. Treat us with respect, and there will be no war. Doubt us, and the cost will be clear. The warlord fell silent, finally realizing that laughter had no place here. He was not the only one. Across the chamber, whispers replaced shouting. Aliens who had mocked humans now studied them with careful attention. Respect, cautious and slow, began to replace arrogance. Tomasz watched silently from behind Myra. He knew this was only the beginning. The council had seen humans as small, fragile, and laughable. Now they had witnessed preparation, strategy, and strength hidden behind a calm exterior. The balance of perception had shifted, and there was no turning back. Myra lowered her hands, the calmness in her stance reflecting the human's quiet confidence. We are not the loudest, nor the largest. But we endure, we learn, and we rise. Let that be known to the council. Humanity is here not to beg, not to kneel, but to stand, prepared for the stars and prepared for all who would underestimate us. The chamber fell into thoughtful silence. The sentinel floated above them, a shadow that carried weight heavier than the fleets around it. It was proof of what humanity could achieve and a promise that respect for Earth and its people was no longer optional. The council chamber was unlike anything humans had ever seen on Earth. It was wide, high, and filled with beings of every shape, size, and color. Before, it had been a place of laughter when the humans arrived. Now, the air was tense and uncertain. The shadow of the sentinel still hung in orbit outside the windows, black and still, yet filled with a presence that demanded attention. The scaled warlord, who had mocked Myra and her people, clenched his claws on the armrest of his chair. His pride was shaken, though he would not admit it. Every officer in the chamber was alert, their eyes scanning the windows and their sensors reading strange fluctuations in space. The aurora and the sentinel had changed everything in minutes. The Speaker of the Union raised his arms. His voice, usually calm and authoritative, carried a hint of unease. The humans have shown their ship, and the display above has proven their capabilities. Council members, we must reconsider our view of this young species. They are not what we believed. A murmur spread through the delegates. Some nodded, others whispered to companions, and a few shifted uneasily in their seats. For the first time, laughter was absent. Doubt had taken its place. Myra stepped forward. Her voice was steady and calm, carrying through the hall. We do not seek to intimidate. We do not seek war. But we are not weak. The sentinel is a sign of our readiness. If the council wishes peace, it will have it. If the council wishes aggression, it will see the consequences of underestimating humanity. The insectoid diplomat hissed, his mandibles clicking nervously. You speak boldly, human. But your display was a simulation. What proof do we have that you can act with the same precision in real combat? Commander Tomasz spoke quietly, but his voice carried across the chamber. The Sentinel is fully operational. It has been tested beyond Earth's orbit in conditions far more dangerous than any fleet you can muster. Every system is monitored, every crew trained. What you saw was only a demonstration. The real power of humanity is in our endurance, our strategy, and our determination to protect what we value. The chamber fell silent. Even those who had doubted before now shifted in their seats, realizing that this was not a bluff. Humans had come prepared. They had come with patience, with intelligence, and with hidden strength. The scaled warlord finally spoke, his voice quieter than before. You have shown power without firing a shot. Still, what is your aim? Do you come seeking allies, or do you come seeking dominion? Myra met his gaze calmly. We come to the council seeking understanding and respect. We do not wish to conquer. We do not wish to dominate. But we will not allow our people or our world to be threatened. Respect is not optional. It is a necessity. Treat us as equals, and there will be peace. Underestimate us, and you will see what humans can endure. Across the chamber, whispers grew. Younger delegates, unburdened by arrogance, leaned forward, absorbing every word. The older and proud races, who had mocked humans at first, now faced a difficult truth. A species they had considered weak was far more capable than they had imagined. A feathered elder finally spoke, his wings folding neatly against his back. Your words carry weight. Your display proves your skill. The council has underestimated humans. That mistake will not be repeated. Myra nodded slightly, acknowledging the change in tone. The chamber felt different now. The balance had shifted. Humans were no longer the small, weak race arriving in orbit for diplomacy. They were a species to be respected, capable of endurance and strategy beyond the expectations of others. Tomasz remained silent behind Myra, his eyes scanning the chamber for any sign of renewed arrogance or threat. He knew this shift in perception was critical. Once a council underestimated a species, it could be dangerous. Now, humanity had planted respect in place of laughter. The Aurora remained quietly in orbit, its hull reflecting the light of the star. The Sentinel drifted nearby, black and calm, a presence heavier than any fleet, a shadow that carried meaning without action. Alien fleets outside had begun to adjust, their sensors strained to detect any sign of threat. Yet the humans had revealed enough without aggression. Myra stepped back and folded her hands in front of her. We do not seek to dominate. We do not seek to strike first. But humanity will endure. We will protect our worlds, our people, and all who value peace. That is our strength. That is our promise. A silence followed. Not the silence of fear, but of thought. Delegates considered what had been shown. Laughter and arrogance had disappeared, replaced with respect and a cautious understanding. The young human race had arrived and turned expectations upside down. For Tomasz and Myra, the moment was quiet victory. They had not fired weapons, made threats, or demanded obedience. They had only shown presence, preparation, and the knowledge that humans were not to be underestimated. The shift was complete. The council would remember this day. And humanity's place among the stars was no longer questioned. The great chamber of the council remained quiet. The whispers of doubt and fear had faded, replaced by a careful, growing respect. Humans had arrived as an underestimated race, laughed at by every corner of the galaxy. Now, the balance had shifted. Myra stood at the center, her calm gaze sweeping over the alien leaders. Commander Tomasz remained behind her, strong and silent, a steady presence that spoke of confidence without pride. The Sentinel floated in orbit outside, dark and still, yet its very presence demanded acknowledgement. Ships of alien fleets had moved slightly away, their shields raised cautiously. No one dared make a move, for the memory of the human display and the demonstration of the Sentinel's power was fresh in their minds. Laughter had been replaced by awe and careful thought. The scaled warlord finally spoke, his voice quieter, less certain. I have mocked you, human. I believed your people weak, small, and fragile. I see now that I was wrong. Your ship, your presence, and your words show a power we did not expect. Myra nodded. We do not seek to intimidate or to rule. We came to join the council as equals. Respect is earned through understanding, not fear. But every species must understand that humanity will not be underestimated. That is our rule, and it has guided us for all our history. The feathered elder, who had remained silent for much of the discussion, spread his wings slightly and spoke. Your people are clever, brave, and cautious. You have shown restraint, yet power beyond what we imagined. The Council must acknowledge this. Earth is not a planet to be taken lightly. A hum of agreement ran through the chamber. Other leaders nodded, some exchanging quiet words. The young delegates, who had watched humans closely from the start, looked inspired. They saw that courage and preparation could shift the hearts and minds of even the oldest, proudest races. Myra stepped forward, her tone calm yet commanding. We do not wish for war. We do not come seeking to dominate. Humanity thrives when we build, when we explore, when we share knowledge and understanding. But we endure when challenged. Respect our people, and you will find friendship and alliance. Doubt us, and you will see what happens when humans are underestimated. The chamber was silent again, but this time it was the silence of realization. No one laughed. No one mocked. The weight of human preparation, patience, and hidden strength had impressed itself on every delegate. The young human race had turned a hall of ridicule into a place of careful acknowledgement. The Speaker of the Union raised his long arms and spoke. The Council has witnessed a people who have been underestimated. Humanity has shown endurance, intelligence, and the ability to prepare beyond what we knew. Let it be noted that Earth and its people are not to be dismissed. They stand as equals among the stars. A murmur of approval spread. Even the scaled warlord lowered his head in acknowledgement. Tomasz allowed himself the smallest nod, standing behind Myra, knowing their purpose had been achieved. The human people had not fired a weapon, had not demanded obedience, and had not bowed. Yet they had gained the respect that many thought impossible. Through the windows, the sentinel drifted silently. Its black hull reflected no light, yet it remained the most powerful presence in the orbit of the station. The aliens understood now that it was not only the strength of the ship but the intelligence and determination of those who commanded it that made humanity a force to be respected. The chamber shifted, both literally and figuratively. Fleets adjusted their positions, defensive formations relaxed, and the whispers of doubt were replaced by consideration of alliance and negotiation. Humans had arrived to speak, but they had also arrived to be heard. Myra looked once more across the chamber. We are grateful for this chance to meet with the Council. Let this meeting be remembered not for the laughter of doubt, but for the understanding that humans endure, learn, and rise to meet any challenge. The alien leaders nodded. Respect had replaced mockery. Curiosity had replaced arrogance. And in the quiet that followed, the balance of power in the chamber was clear. Humans were no longer the small, fragile race that others thought they were. They were a people prepared for the stars, for challenge, and for survival. Tomasz remained behind Myra, his eyes on the delegates. They understand now, he said quietly. And they will remember. Myra smiled slightly. Yes. They will remember that humans do not come to beg. We come to stand. And when they see us again, they will know the truth of our strength, and the importance of respect. The chamber began to empty, but the energy remained. Humans had earned their place, not through threat or fear, but through presence, preparation, and the quiet power of endurance. The Sentinel remained in orbit, a dark reminder that humanity was capable of more than anyone had imagined. The galaxy would not forget this day. Humanity had arrived, laughed at, and proven that underestimation could be dangerous. Respect had been earned, and humanity had secured its place among the stars.